Welcome to Magic Hour with Paul Chappell, and today I am reviewing Glass, a movie by M. Night Shyamalan, and it's a sequel to Split and Unbreakable, which came out in the year 2000, I believe. And boy, does that make me feel old, because I saw Unbreakable originally in the theater and remember coming away from it kind of confused. I think I had to have a friend explain it to me, and it was an interesting concept because if you don't know anything about this series, it's basically a deconstruction of the superhero myth. It's taking superheroes and putting them in real life in a plausible scenario on how they would kind of operate. And it's been done before. Watchmen was probably the best example of that, which came out roughly 15 years before Unbreakable. But on the whole, I don't think the whole concept works, but I'll get into that a little bit later. So what is the movie about? Well, the movie's about a superhero played by Bruce Willis. He's called the Overseer, and he's really strong. He's unbreakable. If you've seen Split, you know that villain called the Beast, who has multiple personality. He kills a couple girls, and he's pretty much roaming the city of Philadelphia, killing other people. And the Overseer, Bruce Willis's character, David Dunn, he's trying to track down the Beast and stop him. And you've probably seen the trailers. Him and the Beast and Samuel Jackson's character, Mr. Glass, they all end up in a psychiatric hospital run by Sarah Paulson. And her mission, or so she says her mission, is to cure these men of this delusion of grandeur that they're superheroes. So, what did I like about this film? I liked James McAvoy in the film because he had to pull off so many personalities, and it probably wasn't even that hard for him. I mean, a lot of actors kill for these type of roles, but he did such a good job. He really, the movie should have been Split too. Although I do have to say Samuel Jackson does take a big part of the movie's basically about him, but I think James McAvoy stole so many scenes from Bruce Willis and Samuel Jackson in this movie. He just came away being the true star of the film. And you can even see that in the credits on IMDb because I think he gets first billing. So James McAvoy, excellent performance. Like I said, Samuel Jackson was great too. And I'll get into Bruce Willis later. But I also liked some of the action was pretty good. It could have been a little bit better. But on the whole, it had an epic feeling to it. And there was a lot of suspense in the film that I think paid off pretty well. But the movie, as you probably know with M. Night Shyamalan movie, it had some twists. And this probably the first time he didn't have one or two or even three twists. He had 4 twists in this movie. And it was a little bit disconcerting because I only really like 2 of the endings. Only 2 of the endings really paid off properly. The other 2 endings were a little bit tenuous and stretched the premise of the movie a little bit too thin. So if I have to say what I liked, it was like I said, those 2 endings, the deconstructing of the superhero myth, and the fact that James McAvoy is such a badass actor in this movie. What I did not like in the movie was 2 of those surprise endings because, as I said, they just did not work overall. I wish I could reveal a little bit more about one of the main endings. The only hint I can give about it is that they try to prove the existence of superheroes in this movie. I guess I pretty much gave it away. So they try to prove the existence of superheroes in the movie. And the only problem with this is that even if you did show evidence that superheroes exist in our current reality, no one would believe it, because if they saw, let's say they saw a video of a said superhero, everybody would say it was CGI, because our CGI is that good. So it'd be very hard for anyone to try to prove that superheroes exist just for that reason. I mean, there are things that happen like 9/11 that we have on video and people don't believe it. People are still debating whether we had a real moon landing. So that premise of the movie really didn't work for me. So another thing I did not particularly like in this movie was some of the editing choices. It feels like they cut out a lot of the movie, and I don't have any evidence to support that. I kind of think I read something that maybe the movie was 3 hours long in the original edit. I'll try to confirm that, but it just felt like one of the problems is M. Night Shyamalan's directing. He has a very weird directing style where he lingers over a shot, and in doing that, he kind of builds the suspense. But ultimately, if there's no payoff to that buildup, it doesn't really work in the scene, because there were so many shots in this film that would build up to something, and then he would hold it, and then all of a sudden he would just cut, and you're like, what just happened? So I had a little bit of problem with the editing and the directing, and those go hand in hand with this movie. And I would just say that I didn't know why Bruce Willis was in this film. Ostensibly, he was the hero of the movie, but as soon as he gets captured and sent to the psychiatric hospital, his story goes nowhere. I mean, I was very disappointed with this. I get what he was trying, with M. Night Shyamalan was trying to do with the concept, but I just felt like his journey ended rather abruptly, because I really want to see this full-fledged superhero, and you do get to see him in his superhero mode, and it's very interesting. But like a lot of other things in the movie, there just wasn't enough payoff for that. And I really don't know what he could have done differently to fix it. So my criticism rings a little bit hollow, but at the same time, I just felt like Bruce Willis wasn't even in this movie. So I had a big problem with that. And I've read some article on the internet, probably was AV Club, and they were saying that M. Night Shyamalan had this ending for the movie thought out 19 years ago, and I really don't believe it. As a writer myself, that's just not how the writing process works. I mean, you can have an idea of an ending, but you're going to get new ideas as you write and get further and closer to the end of anything you write, and it's going to change along the way. I mean, you can look at some of the notes that George R.R. Martin had for his Song of Fire and Ice series, which is we popularly know as Game of Thrones. But you can look at some of his early notes for some of the characters, and they are nothing like they turned out to be, especially with characters like Jaime Lannister. Because Jaime Lannister was straight up villain originally in his rough draft of the story ideas that he originally had. And as you probably know from the show, he turned into a totally different character. So the whole notion that he had this whole thing planned out does not ring kind of hollow to me because of the way the plot didn't really tie together very well. In fact, my wife who went with me to see it was complaining about the exposition in the movie. There was just a lot of people talking in this film, explaining the plot, where they should have just been showing the plot. And that just tells me, again, that M. Night Shyamalan did not have anything planned out. And when it came time to execute this story and tie all the threads together, it just didn't work very cohesively. So I had a problem with that, and you see a lot of people complaining about that online. Although, again, like a lot of movies these days, the critical response was way different than the audience response. And I think, and what was that movie that it kind of had? Oh, The Upside. The Upside, which I reviewed last week, it had, I think it was 40% for the critics and 80% for the audience score. Was almost the same thing for this movie. But I feel like this time I'm kind of in agreement with a lot of the critics. And I feel like the audience score is definitely going to go down after all the big comic book fans stop watching the film and some of the more casual users go to see it because of the hype. Because the movie made $40 million right out the gate. So it's doing very well. And I expect it to continue to do well. But on the whole, I would say it's worth seeing. I didn't feel like my money was wasted. It had a lot of interesting concepts, but I also believe I was part of the target audience. As somebody who loves, obviously, superhero movies, it wasn't that hard to get me to like it, if that makes any sense. So, casual film goers, if superhero movies aren't really your thing, and you feel like you're being dragged to this movie and you don't really want to go, I wouldn't go. I would wait for it to come out on Netflix or, Blu-ray or whatever. But so I'm kind of, I guess, if we were on the Siskel and Ebert show, we would get one thumb up and one thumb down pretty much. So that's my judgment. I'm kind of 50-50, kind of right in the middle. But like I said, it's worth watching just for James McAvoy performance. And if you're a Bruce Willis fan, this is not the Bruce Willis movie for you. Good vehicle for Samuel Jackson fans and James McAvoy fans. And I don't know, even Sarah Paulson fans. So that's about it for Glass. And I would like to thank my new subscribers and encourage you to give me a like if you like my review. And subscribe to my channel. And until next time, I will see you when I see you. Thanks for watching.